Alrighty, part two of my opinion on various coaches in the pickup artist scene. Jeff Allen, RSD Jeffy was one of the popular names for him back in the day. He used to be part of Real Social Dynamics. So let me just get Real Social Dynamics out the way. That was like a legendary company which dominated pickup, while the industry itself for many years, roughly from 2005 until 2018, the end of 2018. It was co-founded by Owen Cook. Eventually, it just disappeared or started to fade away. And Jeffy was a big part of the company. He was a very loved instructor there. And he's still working with some of the guys who used to be at RSD. So Owen Cook, Jeff Allen, Madison, and Julien Blanc, they still work together, but now they're under Self Mastery Co., SMC, and Real Social Dynamics is not a thing anymore. And I get people all the time saying, where's RSD and all this shit? It doesn't exist anymore, basically. They just like split into different directions, but a few of them still work together in some form. Anyway, back to Jeffy. I met Jeffy a good few years ago, or much longer than that. And we hosted an event together with hundreds of guys there, a free tour, long time ago. And he's like a comedian in many ways. He's genuinely really fucking funny and doesn't give a shit. And so amazing kind of guy. I have invited him to a panel or two before, or even a one-on-one interview. He almost came along, but unfortunately it didn't happen. So I would love to have him on. He's always welcome to jump on, and that would be a truly fascinating one. I don't know too much about what he's doing these days, and I haven't seen him in person for a long time. And I haven't really messaged him for a while either. But yeah, he seemed to be definitely an interesting person. So yeah, I wouldn't disapprove of him. He's in the good books for me. I just don't have too much information, but he certainly would know what he's talking about. And he does have some fascinating books, according to the people that have talked in the community. Last time someone mentioned one of his books was 2 days ago to me. I haven't read any of them myself, but he has a lot of humor in the stuff he does. So definitely worth looking into if you want to be a funnier person. JT Tran, I invited JT to the Asian special of the Dating Coach panel back in 2024. And coincidentally, when I was planning it, I had no plans to go anywhere. But just as the episode was being shot, I was going to Asia for the first time in my life, just 6 days later or something, just 1 week away. And so it was a truly fascinating panel to have with JT there and various other dating coaches who are from or of descent from China, Vietnam, South Korea, India, and so on. So it was a fascinating, super chill episode. JT, he's a very genuine, honest guy. In my experience, a very honest way of doing business. He seems to be extremely organized. So yeah, he appears to be one of the good guys in the industry in terms of honesty. I can't really talk about much else because I still don't know too much about him, but he has had a few appearances on the Dating Coach panel on the Game Global channel. And I haven't met him in person, but otherwise, he seems to be giving away some green flags. So that's looking good for this guy. So this guy's looking good. I just don't know too much about him. Mike Pickup Alpha, who was notably known as Mike Squatting Casanova, and he got canceled years ago, back in, that would be in the end of 2021. And there was an article written about him exactly 21 days before Newsweek wrote an article about Tom Torero, which shortly after that, Tom Torero committed suicide. Exactly 3 weeks before Tom Torero's article on Newsweek, there was an article about Mike squatting Casanova. And it had a bunch of accusations in there and stuff like that. I don't know what's true and what's not, but these things have happened to a lot of people in the industry when it is absolutely not the case. I can't speak for what's true and what isn't, but you know, I had shit written about me, and 90% of it, at least 90% of it, was nothing near the truth. So I know what it's like to be lied about on the internet, especially by the news. And I used to be, you know, when you're a kid and when you're up to like 20 years old, maybe you get to think, oh yeah, the news, trustworthy information, right? But then eventually you get to realize, especially when they have some news story about you or write about you, how much is bullshit and how much isn't. Because once there's a story about you, you know what the story is. And the journalists, they're just like a sofa expert. What do you call it? Like an armchair pickup artist, a champagne socialist, all these funny terms. They're like an armchair expert on your life, or the story that you know that involves you in whatever way. And then they're the ones writing about it, and they misrepresent what's going on in crazy ways, and they just completely make shit up. It is crazy. I don't want to like spend my time saying, oh, they said this about me and that's not true because blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't need to, you know, when you're accused of something, it's easy for someone to throw shit at you, and people will think some of that's true or all of it's true just because, whoa, it's an accusation. It must mean something. But then how do you disprove that in the first place? It's like, well, let me just... If there's evidence, there's evidence. But otherwise, it's like you're just living your life. And how the fuck are you supposed to do anything about it? So it is frustrating to be on the receiving end of a load of fake news, because I fucking know what it's like. And it is a pain in the ass. But Mike got it in a very bad way. And he literally got fucking canceled. So he lost his YouTube channel. Perhaps a bunch of other things. So you won't find really any videos of him on YouTube. You'll see like collaborations where he's on our channel, for example. But aside from that, his videos, you just can't really find them anymore unless you just go to Mike directly. So, yeah, aside from him being canceled, and I think that was extremely unfair because, you know, the same person who wrote that is the same person who wrote the Tom Torero article. So let me highlight that too. Newsweek, Danya Hajaji, she wrote the article on Mike and she wrote the article on Tom. And then shortly after that, Tom was dead. So whether or not that's something to do with the article or, you know, a little contribution to it, it's only, what do you call it, speculation. But aren't patterns fascinating? So yeah, if you do see anything online, don't believe everything you read on the internet, okay? But the difference here being, I have interactions with these dating coaches, so there is information that I can genuinely give. And whether or not I recommend someone, I recommend Mike. He was really fucking impressive on his first appearance on the Asian special at the Dating Coach panel. It was really fascinating, the kinds of things. I'm not even Asian. That's what I kept saying. And I was like, damn, Mike, I'm not even Asian. And this is really interesting to me and useful. So he's a funny Chinese guy and super chill. Unfortunately, he kind of got screwed over by cancel culture, but yeah, he's a super chill guy, I guess. And he's based in Vegas for now, at least, but he does do boot camps in Bangkok, Thailand, every once in a while. So I recommend him. He has my recommendation. Something learned from Mike, there are perhaps a few things, but one thing that sticks out in my mind that hasn't really left my memory is the fact that this was probably more directed at Asians, but if you have pretty significant income, he was talking more like 6 figures, $100,000 kind of thing, but it doesn't even have to be that high. If you just put, like, no matter how much you're earning, I would put on to this point. If you just allocate 2% of your income into investing in yourself for your dating life, that's gonna work out, right? That's gonna make a difference. If you're earning $50,000, 2% isn't a crazy amount of money, or no matter how much you're making. If you just invest in your dating life, that can make one hell of a difference. The more money, maybe it makes more of a difference, and it's easier to justify buying a boot camp, maybe. But aside from that, the principle is pretty much the same. If you just allocate a little bit of your resources into actually improving your life, that's going to make a fucking difference, because there are so many guys out there. I'm a fucking cheapskate myself. I would have never considered investing in my own dating life, but I was a natural. So for me, it was kind of different. Because I didn't have problems with trying to attract women. I just had problems keeping one, because I had no problem getting girlfriends. I had a lot of girlfriends, but these relationships just wouldn't last long. So once I found out about game, I was just like, oh, this is good. Let me just accelerate everything that I'm doing. And it did, even though before that I was doing much better than okay, much better than most people anyway. But aside from that, unless you're a natural, if you're just investing even just a tiny bit of money into your dating life, that will make quite a difference. So that's an incredible point there. Now for Shaun Michael, free second rule. He used to work with Mystery, do boot camps. He has a bit of a strange history. So he was in the military for a long time. And then he got into like the gym business and helped grow a gym brand, basically. And he applied his business skills to the pickup artist industry, and especially on boot camps, and made a bit of a difference as far as I can tell. And he's a very professional person. So the things I have learned from him, it's kind of half business and half game, because he's one of the guys I can really go to for business reasons, or you know, that we can just have business conversations in general. He's a very business kind of guy. And yeah, we have met several times. So the first time was in London, and then the second time would have been in Manchester. He invited me to stay with him for a weekend, or I could only go for a weekend maybe. So I went there with my wife and stayed at his place. He's got a beautiful place, and he's pretty eccentric once you really like hang out with him. It's funny. He's a funny character. He's like 50 something years old, but he looks so much younger. It's like, it's kind of funny. I'm like, how the fuck does this white guy get away so much, get away so easy being so old, but looking so young? But he's a super nice guy, genuinely. Like, he took me go-karting and shit like that. Pretty eccentric. And he got a parking fine when we were eating at a restaurant for like lunch or something. And he didn't give a shit. He got a parking fine. I was like, oh, I overstayed. Let me just worry about that later. And he just continued fucking hanging out with us instead of like going back to the car and parking it somewhere else. He was just like, oh, whatever. So it's kind of funny. He has nothing to really worry about. Pretty eccentric guy. But yeah, maybe I would say the biggest thing I learned from him, and this is kind of really tying into what Game Global is about these days, he really emphasized the point that back in the day, because he's old school, I'm talking about like mystery method and stuff like that, routines and whatever, because he's not one of the new guys. He's more from perhaps 20, 15 years ago. Back in the day, coaches used to collaborate in different ways, and there's not much collaboration going on beyond the Game Global, or at least until now in recent years. But way back then, you would see Ross Jeffries and having a talk with another dating coach, for example, and you would get to witness as a student at seminars like these, the combinations of teachings and styles. So he really emphasized, instead of learning from one person, why not learn from two and combine their teachings, or learn from a variety of sources? And he also expressed this in business terms too, which was very interesting. So half of this for me is in a business sense too. You know, if you want to diversify your income streams, have lots of sources of income, and that will be much better than being reliant on one system. And the same is true for learning styles of game, because what I did back in the day is just learn from real social dynamics, and they had a bunch of coaches, so they were doing something right, or a good few things right, actually, to say the very least, because they were very good at what they were doing. But I feel that too many people kind of like take information from one coach, and then they're like super in this style, but they forget about the bigger picture. And that bigger picture is you can learn from so many parts. Like there's a reason restaurants have a menu. So you can pick the things that you want and whatever appetizes you. So if you pick game that aligns with your lifestyle, rather than, oh, this person on YouTube is very cool, let me just learn from this person exclusively, it is far more interesting to combine styles. Because if you take a piece of this, a piece of this, and a piece of this from different people, you get to build a very interesting and more unique puzzle of game and a bigger picture of it in the first place. So your understanding then becomes much more advanced. Aside from that, he was pretty talkative, but yeah, super nice guy. Patrick Krajcsi, I apologize if I pronounced that incorrectly. Veiled Intentions, basically. I first met him, I haven't met him since, but only once I met him, and that was in Wien, Österreich, which is Vienna, Austria. That was back at the start of 2020, just as the coronavirus pandemic was starting. It was a funny thing. The day I arrived in Austria, they had one case of coronavirus, and I was like, oh, better not be on my plane, because like there's only one airport as far as I know in Vienna. So that's where I came from. But that was just like to pinpoint the situation. That was just before everything went to shit in society. But I was having lots of fun in Vienna. Really recommend the city. But yeah, I think he reached out, and then we get to shoot a video together. And his friend was there, who was a videographer, photographer kind of guy. And he's part of the Game Global Network. So we got to shoot a video about Message Game, and that was very fun. I can't remember how long the video was, but we were out for like a solid 2 hours at least. And yeah, first impression was like, what the fuck? This motherfucker is taller than me. He's freakishly tall. I am a tall guy. I'm 6'2" or 6'3", but he's like even bigger. So I'm not so skinny anymore, but he's almost as skinny as I used to be. So yeah, one of the fewer guys in the industry who's actually taller than me. But you know, that's not important information. I like the stuff he says. It's been a while since he's been on a collaboration or a panel. We did do a few videos, perhaps 2 years ago, before the panel sort of thing. And yeah, our message game advice can be pretty similar. I certainly recommend him. This one I'm just going to read from my phone because it's just easier. James Tusk, I released a video in 2023 criticizing James Tusk, and a lot of people supported my attack and even requested me to do more videos like it. But I never had the intention of becoming that guy who just points at people to say bad things about them, because that would be lame. I did troll him. I don't normally do that. I did troll him not long after by joining a live stream of his and rubbing it a little in his face. And then he basically called me a cunt or something, and then claimed I copied his wing finder, and he was charging $220 approximately for that. But he was lying, because Game Global existed long before his wing finder product. And Game Global was designed to replace the inner circle groups that Real Social Dynamics abandoned back in 2018. However, all this aside, I would genuinely like to have him on a panel at some point. No hard feelings. I was a bit of an asshole to him before, but I would like him to know that he is welcome to come on our channel and leave the past behind, because, you know, that's like a minor point maybe. In this industry, it's kind of easy for some coaches, and this isn't James Tusk specifically. Now I'm thinking of other certain coaches who say this, but there are some coaches, not James Tusk, as far as I know, who say, I'm the #1 dating coach in the world. Where's this information coming from? They just made it up. So it's easy for a lot of dating coaches in this industry to just make a claim which has nothing to do with reality, and it's not fact-checked or backed up by anything. Really, it's this industry is very unregulated. So perhaps it's an easy mistake to make. Perhaps he wasn't aware that Game Global existed. So I am at least sympathetic to the fact that this could have been just ignorance on his part. But, you know, I'm willing to leave this kind of stuff in the past, because it really doesn't even matter. If people want to pay $220 to find some wings, my cheapskate ass just simply says, well, look, Game Global is right here, and it's free, and has been the entire time, and has been here for longer. So it's that thing where it's simply a matter of that claim is incorrect, and here's the evidence, here's the community. You can literally come right here to the biggest organized network in the universe, and I could make claims saying I'm the #1 dating coach in the world. James Tusk didn't necessarily say that, but I could make all these claims saying this is the best network in the universe for meeting wings and various other things like that. But the point being, it's just free. Part of me wanted to direct people away from paying a lot of money to find a few wings when Game Global was literally right here for free, and we got many thousands of people who are part of it and always looking for wings, and it's a group, so you can just go in without relying on someone else and without paying an entrance fee. So it's just so much easier to just go to Game Global. So that's pretty much all I was saying. But at the same time, if you're going to make claims, they need to be accurate if you're selling something, especially if you're selling something, because that can really hurt people when they find out I just paid all this money for this product, but this thing right here, Game Global, which isn't even a product, is free to access the entire time. And that is, we have a commitment to never change that. It's always going to be free to join. But aside from that, James Tusk, if you're watching, just feel free to reach out, send me a message, and we can just continue, have you on a panel as if nothing happened. And I would love to have you on. That'll be interesting, because I value perspective. So if you come on the panel, we're all going to admire the fact that instead of being bitter, and I don't want to call you bitter or anything like that, instead of viewing it in a negative way, we can have a positive opportunity and learn from your perspective. I don't know too much about you. So can I recommend you? Can I not recommend you? That's not for me to say, because I really don't know you. So I'll have to leave it there. Erik, Carlberg, Ablaze. So he is he's not new, but he is now on the horizon on YouTube, because all the content that we've been posting where he has had a lot of appearances recently on Game Global. So he is Mystery's wingman, and he's been in the game for a long time. He's engaged. I'm a married man, but that's to say, there's a relationship experience, and maybe he's not a pickup artist at the moment, but the principles are there because the game never ends. Call me biased if you want, but you are fucking incorrect. The game really never ends. It just turns into relationships. There are 3 stages of game. There's meeting women, keeping women, and then there's raising a family. And a lot of people mistake game for just this first section. I got into the game not because I needed to meet women. I was already meeting women and getting girlfriends. I was perfectly fine. My problem was keeping a woman. So the 3 stages of game, or evolutions of game, maybe we can call it. If there are coaches who are stuck in the first zone and they never get into a relationship, sometimes I feel it's a bit of a strange thing because they're kind of selling out their own personal dating desires just to stay in the game, just cold approach people for 20 years and just never get in a relationship, never settle down, have a family or anything like that. Just for the sake of trying to still get clients and stuff like that. The fact is, if you have proven the fact that you can meet women and proven the fact that you can keep women and then you raise a family, that's a much better way to go. So Erik, he has completed the first stage. He's now in the second stage, keeping a woman, and he's going to get married at some point. That's a green flag for me because it's not like one of those guys who tries to show off in the community and, in the background, it gets into a monogamous relationship and then pretend he's still doing cold approach. That's not Erik. There are 2 amazing things that Erik has done for the community. And the first one was the 4.5-hour interview that he made happen on Game Global with Mystery. So the longest ever interview of Mystery is 4.5 hours long, and that was on Game Global, and that was pretty much all because of Erik, or a huge contribution of his, or in large part thanks to his arrangements. So we can thank Erik Carlberg for making that Mystery interview happen. And the second thing, very similar, the debate between Ross Jeffries and Mystery, that also in part was thanks to Erik Carlberg, Ablaze. So those are 2 monumental things that have happened under the influence of Erik Carlberg. And that's important because there really is no footage of Mystery and Ross Jeffries on the internet until that happened. Like their collaborations from years before, back in the times of the game in the early 2000s, more than 20 years ago, there might be footage that someone has in their storage or something like that, but you can't find it on the internet. So all of those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. And here at Game Global, we love the fact that we're kind of preserving history, creating history, because it's like, imagine if you go back in time with a camera and let's say I film the great philosophers of ancient Greece, and then I come back and I put it on YouTube. How insane would that be? The fact that we are preserving knowledge is such an incredible thing, because 100 years from now, 20 years from now, 2 years from now, it doesn't really matter. The fact that it's accessible is such a huge thing. So huge respect to making these kinds of things happen, because that is monumental. There really is no other footage out there that anyone can find of collaborations like this. The 2 originators of game in this industry. I'm going to read this one out because it's quite important. Robert Beck, Beckster, Mystery's wingman, business partner. I have a criticism of Beckster. He doesn't do enough content. I'm convinced that he wants to, but his lack of content is holding him back I say this to contrast and highlight my next point. I didn't realize how fucking funny he was until editing the footage of our interview, because that's when I realized that we had just made the funniest interview yet, which we made a good few weeks ago now. But essentially, this is to say that a lot of people may not be too familiar with his character because he really is full of personality. And he kind of reminds me of the Weasley twins from Harry Potter, probably because he's ginger and has the same accent. But the humor is very similar, and he's super energetic and, you know, hilarious. He's genuinely funny and great to have on an interview or on the panels. So he has made, I think, 2 appearances so far. One Beckster interview and 1 panel, and Mystery was on the panel too. So yeah, he has been in the game for so long, since the 90s actually. So I think, I have the feeling that I would say, my opinion, that he is underrated, and I definitely approve of Beckster. So I just wish he made more content because he has a lot of valuable things to say. And I think that his version of the game is possibly one of the most teachable and could really resonate to so many more people than we might think, because we simply don't see much content of Beckster. So he deserves a huge YouTube channel. And I think he really has it in him to make the most of that. I would love to personally vouch for him, you know, with this, but at the same time, I would love to encourage him to make more content, because we all know we would fucking watch that shit. So he's definitely one of the good guys. Madison Monroe, I'm not sure if that's his surname or whatever, but RSD Madison, as it used to be when he was part of Real Social Dynamics. He still works with Owen Cook and the others, with some of the others, for Self Mastery Co. But I hosted an event with him years ago, or maybe it was at least 1 event, maybe it was 2 events. And then I pissed him off years later, and the reason for it was it was the same thing where I made a video about RSD damaging a charity, which was in response to the fact that someone in RSD basically made a bunch of false copyright complaints, blah, 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 blah. And then nobody would listen to me for support. And the person who was in charge of taking the videos down just simply blocked me. So it was just very frustrating and really unethical. And Madison was kind of skeptical of me because I made a video speaking up for what is right. And I clarified this to him multiple times, but he still disagreed with me. And he can speak for himself on this, but I stood by what I said, and that video is still there because it's a moment in history that is important, because I care about the charity that I am involved with. My friend killed himself 10 years ago, and me and his mom set up a charity for depression, for people who struggle with anxiety, depression, and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people end up committing suicide, and it's a very serious thing. I have friends who are no longer here, and it was very disappointing that a company that I loved the dating advice of just completely ignored me. So whether or not that was an organizational issue, that's one thing, but at the same time, you can't really argue with the fact that I stood for an ethical position, and all I wanted was my channel back for the depression charity. And the right thing to do is just listen to people when there is an ethical issue. And if that shit goes ignored, shit gets crazy. But I didn't go crazy. I could have sued someone, maybe you could say. I went through support. I went to the guy who personally took down the videos through their false copyright complaints. I got blocked. I get ignored by support. And then what fixed it was, in the end, I went to Owen Cook and Luke Krogh, And they were the guys who actually were more positive and actually listened and resolved the matter eventually. So those were the better people to deal with. I didn't come to Madison for this. I just went through support and a bunch of other people. But Madison wasn't really relevant to the whole ordeal. But the matter was resolved. But perhaps he has a misunderstanding on this. I don't know. But I would love to have him on a panel. Personally, after we hosted an event together years ago, he wanted to arrange a trip to another part of the country that we were in. And I took a day off from my job to go along with him. And everything was, arranged and agreed. And it turns out that he wasn't a man of his word. So I missed out on an incredible day of work. That's a rare thing to say, actually. Most people fucking hate their jobs. But I had what was supposed to be a super unique, fun event that particular day. And I took that day off specifically to help Madison with something. And just get completely ghosted. And the thing didn't happen or whatever. So that was really disappointing because I really missed an event, the best event that I ever missed that I couldn't make it to. And for the most disappointing reason. So I wish people would be men of their word and have better communication. But don't we all, So that's the funny thing. This one I'm just going to read straight from my phone. Avery Hayden. Avery used to have some involvement years ago with Game Global, uploading content to our channel and whatever else. It's a bit of a blur to me now, but he departed and had some kind of dispute with us, but I have no hard feelings. He appears to interact every once in a while with others in the Game Global community, and I know he checks out our stuff in one way or another. But if I could give him a message, it would be this. I need to change Game Arizona AZ to Game Arizona on Facebook. I'm referring to the Facebook groups because there was a mix-up with our Facebook group linking. Yeah, nobody's going to understand this apart from us. But essentially, the URL address is mixed on your Facebook group with ours. So if you can fix yours and let me know, and then we can fix ours, we're just effectively switching them. That would make more sense. That sounds like the most random fucking thing, but I'm just a person that's in need of a favor in the name of OCD and consistency. So yeah, if you're wondering what the fuck I'm talking about, basically Avery has a group based in Phoenix, and because we merged it with Game Global at some point, I changed the URL to Game Phoenix, but that's not the name of the group anymore. Now we have a different group, Facebook group for Game Phoenix called Game Phoenix, but I had to have a different URL address for it. So if he could change the URL and let me know, then I can change mine back to what that was. And that would be that. That's all. And he's welcome to join the panels. I just wish he would, get in touch and jump on a panel with us and explore, go down some rabbit holes. I don't know what he's doing these days. I don't know where he is. Last I knew, he was in Phoenix and then Las Vegas. All the best to whatever he's doing. Alrighty, that pretty much concludes everyone. If there's someone I missed, probably it's because I have only recently been introduced to them, or I don't have too much information so far, or maybe I just overlooked a few people because, rushing plans and shit. I'm on vacation, forgive me. And if there's anyone I missed, just drop it in the comments. I'll be happy to fill in any blanks that I can provide. And you can, maybe we can make a part 3 or another part of this. There are a bunch of coaches I didn't mention because, they don't really operate anymore. So that may be another reason that I didn't mention a few names. Stuff like that, But there are a good few people I vouched for. Check the description and the pinned comment for links to several products and, resources that I recommend from some of the coaches that I mentioned in these videos. And see you on the other side.